The Purge franchise has been around long enough that people don't just see it as horror anymore. It's a mix of thriller, social commentary, and pure chaos on screen. Each film takes the same wild idea and pushes it in a different direction. That's why it never feels like a repeat of the first. Let's break down each of these movies and see how they play out, what makes them different, and how each one expands the idea of a single night where crime is legal. The first movie is where it all begins. The year is 2022. America is run by the new Founding Fathers, a political group that came up with the Purge. One night each year where all crime, including murder, is legal for 12 hours. They claim it's a way to let people release their anger, reduce crime rates, and make society better. But underneath that, you quickly see the truth. It's not about helping people, it's about controlling them. The film zooms in on one family, the Sandins. James Sandin has made a fortune selling high-tech home security systems designed to keep the wealthy safe during Purge night. His wife Mary and their kids Zoe and Charlie are locked inside their heavily protected house, expecting a quiet night. But that doesn't last long. Charlie, the youngest, notices a stranger outside, bloody, desperate, begging for help. Against his father's rules, Charlie lets him in. That one act sparks the entire movie's nightmare. Soon after, a group of masked purgers shows up at the Sandin house. They're not just random maniacs. They're wealthy, privileged killers who believe they have the right to hunt whoever they want. And they want the stranger, Charlie, saved. The rest of the film plays out like a siege. The Sandins' fortress becomes a trap as the purgers break in. The family fights to survive, and James learns firsthand that the system he profited from doesn't protect him when people want blood. By the end, he's killed in the chaos. Mary and the kids are traumatized, and the film leaves a sharp message. The Purge isn't about peace or cleansing. It's about cruelty disguised as order. What made this movie work wasn't huge action scenes. It was the tension. A home invasion story mixed with dystopia. You're trapped in the house with the family, watching the violence close in, and realizing the nightmare isn't just the killers outside. It's the society that allowed them in the first place. 1 year later, the franchise got bigger. Instead of staying inside one house, the Purge. Anarchy takes us out into the streets. This was the film that showed the real scale of what Purge night looks like. The movie follows several groups of people who cross paths during the chaos. First, there's Eva and her daughter Callie, working-class women just trying to survive. Then there's Shane and Liz, a couple whose car breaks down at the worst possible time. And finally, there's Leo Barnes, an off-duty sergeant with a mission of his own. Leo isn't hiding like the others. He's hunting. His goal is to kill the man who drunk drove and killed his son. So while the Purge rages on, Leo is out there armed and determined. But when he crosses paths with the others, he ends up protecting them instead. This sequel takes viewers through the different layers of Purge night. Gangs roaming the streets, government death squads cleaning out the poor, and rich elites running auctions to buy humans and hunt them for sport. That's the real expansion. You see the system behind the chaos. It's not just random violence. It's structured, controlled, and designed to keep the powerless as targets. By the climax, Leo has his chance to get revenge. He tracks down his son's killer, breaks into his house, and is ready to pull the trigger. But he stops. Even in the madness of Purge night, he refuses to become the kind of killer the system wants him to be. That choice separates him from the world around him. Anarchy became the fan favorite for a lot of people because it didn't just recycle the first movie's formula. It blew the doors open, showed the city as a battlefield, and introduced Frank Grillo's Leo Barnes, a character tough enough to handle Purge night, but human enough to give the story heart. By the third film, the franchise takes a sharp turn into politics. Set in 2040, the new founding fathers still control America, but their grip is slipping. Standing against them is Senator Charlie Roan, a survivor of a purge night years earlier when her family was slaughtered. Her entire presidential campaign rests on one promise: end the purge forever. That vow makes her the biggest threat the ruling party has ever faced. The NFFA responds by changing the rules. For the first time, government officials are no longer immune on purge night. Suddenly, Senator Roan is open season for every mercenary, assassin, and extremist group. To protect her, Leo Barnes returns, now serving as her head of security. His job is simple in theory, but nearly impossible in practice. Keep her alive through 12 hours of organized chaos. The movie unfolds as a desperate chase across Washington, D.C. Roan and Leo dodge ambushes, snipers, and death squads, relying on help from everyday citizens. Joe Dixon, a deli owner, Marcos, his loyal employee, and Laney, a fearless ambulance driver who rescues victims, step up as unexpected allies. Together, they represent the ordinary Americans who have had enough of the purge and the brutality propping it up. Meanwhile, the new founding fathers escalate their cruelty. They bankroll militarized hit squads, encourage neo-Nazi gangs, and even sanctify killing through religion. The cathedral sequence stands out. Roan is captured and nearly sacrificed during a grotesque church service, where murder is worshipped as a holy ritual. The scene hammers home how the purge has evolved beyond violence into cult-like fanaticism. But resistance rises. Joe and Marcos fight back against mercenaries. Leo clears a path through every trap, and Roan survives the night. When the election results arrive, she wins. And for the first time, there's real hope the purge could be abolished. It's no longer just about survival scares. It's about who holds power, who suffers under it, and how people can push back. The message is sharp. The purge was never random. It was always a weapon to keep control, and now that weapon is finally under fire. After 3 sequels, audiences wanted the origin story. How did the purge begin? The First Purge rolls the clock back to Staten Island, before the tradition became nationwide law. This time, it isn't an accepted event. It's pitched as a social experiment. The new founding fathers are still climbing their way into power, and they want proof that people will embrace 12 hours of legalized crime. They lock down Staten Island, pay residents to stay, and hand out eerie glowing contact lenses that record the night. At first, the experiment doesn't go as planned. Instead of instant chaos, many residents avoid violence. Some throw block parties, some stay hidden, and others simply ignore the event. That doesn't fit the NFFA's narrative. So they cheat. Masked mercenaries, secretly hired by the government, flood the streets to manufacture bloodshed. With flamethrowers, machine guns, and military trucks, they transform Staten Island into a war zone. The story's heart is Dimitri, a local drug kingpin. In the beginning, he wants no part in politics. But when the mercenaries start wiping out his neighborhood, Dimitri becomes its defender. He turns from crime boss into reluctant protector, leading residents in a fight against the government's hired killers. His brutal efficiency makes him one of the franchise's most memorable protagonists. One of the film's most striking sequences shows masked mercenaries marching in formation, flamethrowers lighting up the night while innocent people realize the truth. This isn't freedom, it's extermination. Dimitri and a group of survivors push back, managing to drive off some squads. But by morning, the NFFA declares the experiment a success and announces the purge will spread nationwide. This film rips the mask off the franchise's central idea. The purge was never a natural response to human psychology. It wasn't about reducing crime. It was a calculated program designed to target the poor, the powerless, and the marginalized. Violence was manufactured to justify control. And once the NFFA had its proof, the rest of America would pay the price. If the First Purge looked backward, the Forever Purge looks forward. And it's the most chaotic entry of them all. Here, the new founding fathers have returned to power and reinstalled the purge after Senator Rowan's victory was overturned. At first, it seems like the same old cycle. 12 hours, then everything goes back to normal. But this time, something different happens. When the sirens signal that purge night is over, some people refuse to stop. They decide the purge shouldn't just last one night, it should last forever. That sparks an explosion of violence across the country. Militias, extremists, and radicals use the excuse to keep hunting indefinitely. There's no more cutoff, no more morning safety. America becomes a permanent war zone. The film follows Adela and Juan, a Mexican couple who crossed the border seeking a better life. Juan works on a Texas ranch owned by the Tucker family, and tensions between them simmer just under the surface. On purge night, they think they'll be fine. But when the Forever Purgers rise, both families are forced together to survive. What follows is a road trip through a collapsing America. Cities are on fire, armed groups roam freely, and the government has lost control. The violence isn't just random, it's fueled by nationalism and hatred, with extremist factions targeting immigrants in particular. That makes the film hit harder because the nightmare feels less distant, more grounded in the anger and division people already see in real life. The climax flips the usual purge setup on its head. Instead of trying to survive until sunrise, the characters have to escape the country itself. Canada and Mexico open their borders for 6 hours, giving refugees one last chance to flee. The survivors race to cross before time runs out, while militias close in on them. By the end, the purge has destroyed the idea of control. The system doesn't work anymore, the government is powerless, and America itself fractures into chaos. Unlike the earlier films that offered some sense of closure, this one leaves everything raw and uncertain. The question is no longer how to survive the night, but whether there's even a nation left after it. And that's the full rundown of the Purge movies. From the first night of chaos to the biggest fights for survival. These films mix action, horror, and a scary look at what happens when there are no rules. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more simple and quick explainers on your favorite horror movies.